What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the 6th studio album by Interpol, a New York City-born band. This new album is titled Marauder. Post-punk revival and indie rock have always been the two genres that pretty much defined Interpol. They were born in the late 90s and have been one of the most consistent groups and one of the most consistently talented. Despite losing their longtime bassist in 2010 after dropping their self-titled album, their lead singer, at least in the studio, Paul Banks, took over on bass, and the quality since then has still been there. In fact, their 2014 release, El Pentor, was one of my favorite records of that year. Now, coming into this new record, I was actually very excited once again because we got a great lead-off single, The Rover. They have a sound that is very distinct, and if you don't like said sound, then there's not necessarily one album where you can just jump in and I can point you to that one as the starting point. I would just say start with their amazing, at this point, classic debut, Turn on the Bright Lights, and go from there. Daniel Kessler continues to be one of the most underrated guitarists of the century and one of my personal favorites. His licks and playing style on this record is not anything groundbreaking for Interpol necessarily, but I love the fact that despite they're past the 20-year mark in their career, they're still clearly giving it their all. There's so much vigor to the playing style of Kessler, and also to Banks, who comes in and layers on top of him. So many standout moments, but really it's just a groove from start to finish. Many of the songs open up with a simplistic riff that slowly evolves into something else, and the interludes are also really well calculated and really well placed, I might add, in the track listing too. I also really once again admire the rhythm section of this band. Sam Fogarino does a fantastic job on drums, and I feel like this is probably one of the best performances he's ever given with the band. Something about the way that he just really elevates his style and can go from playing something that sounds like a marching drum line on Party's Over to something more classic Interpol, I suppose, on singles like The Rover or even something like Surveillance. This band knows how to capture a mood, and this time they captured it raw, and I love that. This is the first time they've worked with an outside producer since Our Love to Admire in 2007. They enlisted the help of Dave Fridman, and he really did a great job with not really changing their sound, but adding in subtle things and putting things together to make them sound a little bit more rough, raw, and garagey. It's a spastic album in places that really goes off the rails with some of the adventurous outros, but also just really reels it in and gives you a haunting, down-to-earth perspective on day-to-day things, relationships, life in general. Once again, Paul Banks knows exactly what he's doing on vocals, and it's just a total mood that you get into when you listen. There's a lot to love in the songs that come to us on Marauder, but once again, I do feel like Interpol are an album band, and that's something that is kind of rare to say. The kind of consistency that they've had with really no, if at all, kind of minor speed bumps being in their discography, it's easy to just take in their albums from start to finish, and this album really doesn't feel like it's 45 minutes long. The lead single, The Rover, is absolutely aces, probably one of my favorite songs of the year. The way that that riff just starts off, takes over, definitely feels like it's getting a little bit out of control, but really reels it in before that second chorus slams. This track rocks out hard. Complication starts off slow, but definitely gains a lot of momentum. This one really hits home with the searing burn of the guitar that really comes from Kessler and also Banks as he plays on top of that. The dynamic there is very explosive, and the outro to this song, the attention to detail that just goes into every single section, it's truly respected, heard, and felt. Party's Over has that fascinating drum line that I mentioned, something that reminds me of a marching band, and I really have a lot of respect for Fogarino on that track and the way that he just built up and owns that tune. Mountain Child definitely has a captivating energy to it, a driving song, one that I feel has a lot of passion to it, but it also has a very interesting story with the lyrics. This is a song that I do feel like is tragic in the sense that it starts off with a guy chasing this girl to the woods where she lives, and he's kind of like more like a city guy, it seems like, and at the end he ends up dying. So despite the brighter tone and melody and the catchiness of the song, it has a twist of fate, and I kind of like that. There's one song that I cannot say enough good things about. In fact, I feel like it's one of the best that Interpol have done in a while. It stands out big time in a very good way in the band's discography. Flight of Fancy is that tune. This is a gigantic tune that really sets itself apart in the sense that it has a great performance from everything. Every instrument really elevates, and just as the song goes on, I do feel like that tension is growing more and more and more, and the more you listen to the song, it just kind of unnerves, and I like that fact. There is payoff and there is release, but still, it winds you up just enough and really hits home in the best way. I'm not crazy about every song here. In fact, there's a few that I don't care for as much, but the thing with this album, Marauder, is that even the songs that I don't like as much, I still have a lot of things to say positively about. The opening track, one of the songs that got released as a single, If You Really Love Nothing, has a guitar tone and pattern, maybe even the structure, that I'm not 100% on board with, but still, there's something that it really just keeps me hooked. It keeps me wanting to listen to it and pay attention to it more. Surveillance is a song that really doesn't unlock for me until its second half. Things really just explode like a grenade there, and I love the passion and intensity, but in the first half, I don't really care about the lyrics or just the momentum, the way that it's swaying for the song. It feels like it's stalling before it finally gets to the good part, and the final song that I want to talk about is Now You See Me at Work. There's definitely a pop appeal there in the sense that the chorus is instantly memorable. You could listen to it twice and start to hum along. Probably by the third time you're singing along. It's that sticky. But I also love the fact that they still work in attention to detail. It's Interpol, so obviously they're gonna do that, but I was just really impressed with the track in that sense. You probably don't need me to tell you at this point, but I really enjoyed this record. Their last album, El Pintor, cracked my top 15 best albums of the year for 2014, and I could see that happening in 2018 with Marauder. For me personally, this is definitely a 4 out of 5. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and please drop a like on the review while you're here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new in town. Don't miss out on future uploads. Ring that bell so you get notifications. If you would like to support me on Patreon, it's the top link down below, or else the annotation in the corner. It helps me keep making videos like this on both of my channels. Other than that, you can catch my El Pintor review here, another recent video here, and all of my socials linked in the description. I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.